Welcome, everybody, back to the brand new episode of the Transgender Plan, your go-to podcast for transgender history. As always, I'm your host, Mari. And it's an absolute pleasure to be back here for season 7. Now, it's been great getting in with one, consistency, and two, to give y'all 7 seasons now of this podcast. It's been a fun journey. It's been an enlightening journey, and I just love the fact that we've made it so far and got so much more room, or with so much more time to go. Right. So thank y'all for being here today. I know it's been a long 30 days. As I mentioned before I ended season 6, I was going to be out for a while. I had a great vacation, took a cruise of the Mediterranean. So I visited Spain and Italy, had a great time. I haven't been on a cruise in 10 years, and it's only my second time. And I have terrible memories. I don't remember what happened 10 years ago on a cruise that I went on, but I do remember this one. And I think I remember this one for a very long time, only because I don't remember cruises having so much stuff to do. And just having a good time. Like, cruises have like tons of restaurants, tons of shopping, tons of entertainment, tons of pools, a lot of great food. Like, it was literally like a small town on a boat. So if you've never been on a cruise before, I highly recommend going, even if it's like something small, like a 3-day cruise or something. I highly recommend going because I had a great time. I had a very fun time. So yeah, I had a good time of vacation, a good time for the month of September, which was busy. The month of October would be just as busy because here in Atlanta, it's Pride. Pride is next week. So with that comes me being just as busy as I was in the month of September, to also be just as busy in the month of October. So I have a lot of panel discussions. I have to visit my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio for the very first time in like years, to do a panel discussion out there, et cetera, et cetera. So basically the month of October is busy for me. It's LGBTQ plus history month as well. So as a historian and an educator, that's really why I'm going to be just as busy. So although I'll be busy, don't get me wrong, I will still be releasing the episodes as planned every single Sunday. So no fear there. Whether I had to take my equipment with me or whatever, I will be here. So stay tuned for that. Before we get into it, what I always like to do is welcome my listeners. So if you're brand new here, welcome to the Transgender Plan podcast. It is great to have you here. Although this is a history podcast, of course, it's not just about history. It also serves as a platform for education. So my job really here is to provide you with some value insights into the transgender community. I aim to inspire understanding, promote inclusivity, and spark conversations about the trans community. So I'll give you all some very good expert knowledge and resources for further learning, Each episode of our podcast is intentionally designed to be concise yet comprehensive, with only a duration of about 15-20 minutes. Get you something to start with, right? And you can learn more on your own time. So yeah, welcome to my new listeners. If you're returning, obviously, like I always like to say, is thank you so much for returning to the podcast. I love you all so very much because every time I check my analytics, the subscriber counts go up. Every time I check my my reviews of the podcast, obviously aside from the bigots, you all provide so many beautiful reviews about the podcast. So thank you all so much for that. If it wasn't for you, I would not enjoy doing what I'm doing right now, and coming to that realization, to be completely honest with you. So thank you all so much for that. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right. So today's episode is going to be about the life of Roberta Cowell, who was actually a pioneering figure who really entered her name into the annals of transgender history. We're going to be going over the fascinating journey through the time, talking about really exploring her life story, and really talk about how much of a trailblazer who really challenged societal norms and paved the way really for a greater understanding and acceptance of our community. So let's get into it. So Roberta Cowell's extraordinary journey begins in the vibrant town of Croydon, England. Let's say Croydon, England. And for my Englanders out there, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing one of your towns incorrectly. Where she was born in 1918. From the outset, Cowell's spirit shone through, right? She was fearlessly embracing the exhilarating worlds of motorsports and aviation. And these early passions unmistakably foreshadowed the audacious and adventurous life that actually laid ahead for her. When World War II actually erupted across Europe during this time, Cowell really didn't hesitate to answer the call of duty, boldly joining the Royal Air Force as a Spitfire pilot. In this role, she not only showcased her exceptional piloting prowess, but also demonstrated unparalleled bravery and unwavering dedication, solidifying really her place among the world's most distinguished heroes. Cowell's heroic journey, however, was not without its trials, as always. Her unwavering courage faced its ultimate test when her aircraft was actually shot down over enemy territory. And what followed was really a grueling 5-month ordeal in the German prisoner of war camp, an experience that undeniably shaped her character. Upon her triumphant return to English soil, Cowell emerged not only bearing the visible marks of war, but also carrying a profound yet undefined certainty that her future would unfold in ways far beyond anything she could have ever imagined during those harrowing days of captivity. This inner conviction would prove to be really a catalyst for the remarkable transformation that actually awaited her. So if we think about her post-war struggles, the transition from the intense adrenaline-fueled days of wartime to the relative calm of civilian life proved to really be a formidable challenge for Cowell. In the aftermath of the conflict, she found herself grappling with a deep-seated depression and an increasingly persistent feeling of disconnection from her assigned gender. Now, this internal struggle led Cowell on a profound journey of self-exploration and identity, really compelling her to seek out medical expertise and psychological guidance really in her quest for understanding and authenticity. As the 1950s had dawned, Cowell stood at a crossroads, really facing a decision that would not only alter the course of her own life, but also really contribute significantly to the ascent field of gender identity studies. With remarkable courage and conviction, she made the groundbreaking choice to transition. In the process that in those days, back then, of course, like I said, we're talking about the 1980s, well, it's a little bit further now, around the 1950s, was not only virtually unheard of, but also fraught with, medical, legal, and social challenges, which, if you think about today, which is sad too, because we're technically, in the year 2024, right? How with the presidential race here in the United States seems to stir up all of these worries that we had back in, like I said, in the times of 1950s to even now, literally multiple decades later. So Cowell's decision to live authentically as her true self was a testament really to her spirit, right? It will provide and prove really to be a pivotal moment in transgender history. So as we kind of look into the 1950s era for Cowell, the year 51 really marked a significant milestone in her journey as she became one of the first individuals to undergo pioneering hormone therapy as a part of her transition. And this groundbreaking treatment was really just the beginning, however. In 1952, Cowell achieved another historic first, becoming one of the earliest known British citizens to undergo gender confirmation or gender-affirming surgery. Now, these medical interventions were not merely personal triumphs for Cowell, but they actually represented significant advancements really in the field of transgender healthcare, right? Opening doors and possibilities for countless individuals who would follow in her footsteps. Now, as news of Cowell's transition spread, her story captured the attention of the media. thrusting her really into the spotlight of one of the first openly transgender individuals in the public eye. Now, this newfound visibility was a double-edged sword for Cowell, right? And a lot of people currently today will also probably say the same thing, right? On one hand, it subjected her to intense scrutiny and often invasive public interest, such, like I said, depending on who you may follow or know personally, we'll say that. And on the other hand, right, it served really as a crucial catalyst really for bringing transgender issues into the realm of public discourse, really challenging societal norms and fostering important conversations about gender identity and human rights. Which, like I said, for most of us, depending on what you do for a living, have experience, really, like I said, kind of having that double-edged sword, right? In 1954, Roberta's transition hit the front page of a news article called Picture Post, which obviously earned her some cash. You may hear about stories about her having some marriage proposals as well. And during that time, she actually published her autobiography, really detailing her transition and the journey that it took, to get to the who she is today, or who she was during this time. Roberta actually ended up returning back to motor racing, which is one of her passions that I did mention earlier in this episode, making her win one of the 1954s. I know it's called, I can't pronounce the first word, and I probably should have Google Translate this, but the Walsh Speed Hill Club. I'm sure this is a lot of so those who are in England may know about that. However, due to her transitioning, her racing career faced some setbacks, including being barred from the Grand Prix, which a lot of us are familiar with, no matter where you really are. So, as Roberta's fame kind of wandered down, she faced financial difficulties, and you may have heard, this will actually probably be your first time if you don't know about Roberta, but there was a controversial 1972 Sunday Times interview that she has done. If you have read the book, Before We Were Trans, you may hear about this in that book, where she had claimed to have been born, with female XX chromosomes, really sparking the debates in the medical and the transgender communities during this time, right? So, despite really her initial fame, Cowell's later years were marked by a retreat from public life. She spent her final days in shelter accommodation, and then she passed away in the year of 2011 at the age of 93, where her funeral was attended only by 6 people. Remarkably, it actually took 2 years for the news of her death to actually reach the general public, when one of the newspapers actually finally broke the story. So, as we look back at the impact of Roberta Cowell's life, normally I like to do kind of breakdowns of kind of takeaways from this, and I kind of actually put it more in like a not really storytelling, but kind of just discussing it really now. While Cowell's journey was groundbreaking, it's important to acknowledge that, like I said, we're talking about the 1972 interview and some of her views, particularly regarding that, chromosomal makeup and her critique of the trans community may be considered to be problematic by public standards as of today. It is crucial, to understand that she was a product of her time, really navigating uncharted territory and transgender identity and rights. Now, since she was kind of off the grid until she passed away, in 2011, which still the community wasn't very well known, but I think it was at this time, I would kind of say, really a spark in having our identities really be recognized, personally, in my opinion, in 2011. I think still remembering Roberta's life really as a pioneer and pivotal figure in British, LGBTQ plus history, but also trans history as well. I think, yes, navigating the 1900s, especially being in the British history, as they say, as someone who had to kind of do it by herself. Yes, controversial. Yes, probably still bad. I wonder, before she passed, if she would say the same thing today, or in the year 2011, and not really beyond, but before. Her life, like I said, extraordinary life, really encompassed roles. Like I said, we think about her being a World War II fighter pilot, competitive race car driver, being the first trans woman in the UK to undergo gender-affirming surgery. I mean, it was a lot. to put on her back. So I do think the courage and authenticity with which Roberta Cowell approached her transition were nothing short of revolutionary really for the era. Like I said, at a time when discussions of gender identity were largely taboo, right? Medical understanding of the transgender communities were in infancy. Cowell's willingness to actually live openly, really, as her true self, really represented really a shift in societal perceptions. Her story challenged deeply ingrained norms surrounding gender and identity, really forcing both the medical community and really society at large to confront and reconsider really the long-held beliefs about really the nature of gender. I think perhaps one of Cowell's most significant contributions was the way in which her story helped to humanize the experiences of transgender individuals, really by, like I said, sharing her journey. She gave really a face and a voice to a community that had been and still at some points, marginalized and misunderstood, especially in the UK. So, her openness sparked these conversations about gender identity. These are gender, identity, and basic human rights, right? Really laying the groundwork for future advocacy and progress, while the language and understanding of transgender issues in the 1950s were really limited by, standards of today. So Cowell's visibility was instrumental really in creating a foundation upon which future generations like ourselves could build on, alongside obviously other icons. And her bravery in the face of societal oppression really paved the way for increased awareness, acceptance, and really ultimately the ongoing fight for transgender rights and recognition. So as we conclude, we reflect really on the extraordinary life of Roberta Cowell. We're already struck by really what I like to call a profound impact one individual can have on the course of history, just like all the other individuals that I talk about in this podcast. And, really giving that intense media attention, like I said, becoming really one of the first people in the world, certainly the first in Britain to undergo gender-affirming surgery, at least of what we know of publicly. The visibility, though challenging, played really a crucial role in bringing, like I said, transgender issues into public discourse. So Roberta's, story continues to inspire and inform the ongoing struggles really for transgender rights and recognition, to remind us really how far we have come and how far we still have to go even today, yes, in 2024. But I think we should conclude this exploration of her life really being left with a sense of gratitude for her contributions, especially for those over there in the UK. And a renewed commitment, to continue the work that she technically has begun. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for listening to today's episode of the Trans Lesson Plan. If you have not done so already, please don't forget to follow us on social media on Instagram and Twitter at the Trans Lesson Plan. If you want to follow me, the host, Mari, you can follow me at mariiiwrld, that's MAR3IWRLD on Instagram and Twitter as well. We do have a newsletter, so if you want to be the first to, obviously, get some insights, resources, be the first one to know about when episodes drop, all that good stuff, sign up for our newsletter. I will put it in the episode description so that you all can access that at any time in which you would like. We do have a Patreon, so if you want to join us on Patreon, I will be posting a lot of the Atlanta Pride content on there. I also have to post Black Pride content on there. Like I said, I've been on vacation, y'all, so I haven't been able to post the Black Pride stuff either from last month. So I'll be posting all that for the next couple coming days. $5 a month. Nothing crazy, of course, where you all can just go in there and see some inside stuff that I do as it relates to the work that I do on a daily basis. I also post, the stuff from Cleveland as well when I get down there towards the end of the month. I'm going through that. Like I said, take it back to my hometown. But yeah, sign up for all that stuff. It's all available, If you do sign up for the Patreon, you do get like stickers and a poster and stuff like that. So, it's great to have all that get to you. Hopefully, I had somebody who had signed up and the USPS at this time in Atlanta was having issues, so I had to resend all that stuff back. But other than that, though, you do get, like I said, some exclusive member benefits with that as well. So if you're interested, please go ahead and sign up for that. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything that I haven't talked about. If you are in Atlanta, during the time of which Pride next month happens, like I said, I'll be out and about. So if you want to say hey, tell me how much you like the podcast, I greatly appreciate it. People had came up to me during Black Pride and telling me how much they love the podcast, so that's great. I really appreciate that. Um, and yeah, enjoy yourself. Please be safe. Like I said, if you are visiting Atlanta or in Atlanta for Pride, as always, because a lot that happens, there's a lot that's going on. Go out, like I said, go visit the clubs, do a bar crawl, something. Just enjoy yourselves while y'all out there. And as we sign off, I always like to say we continue to encourage you all to continue to listen and learn, keep growing, and above all, keep pushing. Like I said, as we continue to make a more inclusive and understanding world here for ourselves. So until next time, I cannot wait to give you all another episode next week. Like I said, keep being your authentic selves, no matter how small. You have the power really to change the world. So have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe. Have a good time. I'll see y'all in Atlanta next week. Well, I'm in Atlanta, but see y'all at Pride next week. And yeah, see y'all next time. Peace.